Hello, my lovely. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. Yeah. Happy to be here.
Oh,
Happy
it's
to be here.
love.
Good.
Oh, wow. Did you make that?
No, I wish I had.
Yes.
But I do. I'm a bit of a sucker for like a beautiful handmade mug.
Oh, it is. It's really lovely.
Mm.
I do enjoy my I do love a good mug, and today it's just a fat face one, but
That's nice.
it's nice. I like it. I like big mugs that you can get lots of tea into.
Nice. I'm on coffee number 2. Today was just a 2 coffee day.
Yeah.
It's not often it happens, but some days it's just a 2 coffee day.
I totally get you. Oh, how are you?
I'm all right. Yeah.
And is this your studio?
This is technically the tidy side of my studio.
Love it.
Yeah, the other side is, well, I have one I'm in the loft. So if I just turn it round, you can see it's like open through to the other.
Oh yeah.
The other bit. So the other bit is my messy side where I do my painting and my life drawing.
Awesome.
So everything's got this layer of charcoal over it.
Yeah.
It gets everywhere. It's all good. It's all part of the creative process, isn't it?
My husband was up in our loft with me yesterday, basically looking to because you got the bit under the eaves which you can't really use for very much, and I was like, I've only got enough space to work on one painting at a time because I do it on the floor and it's big.
Yeah.
And I said, if I could kind of put it away to dry somehow, and then I can work on another one. So he was like, well, there's space under the eaves, maybe I could build you like a little shelving unit or something. So I'm quite excited about that.
Yeah, that's exciting. The loft is a little bit frustrating in that this is I can touch the ceiling. I'm sitting down and I can touch the ceiling. So it's designed for little hobbits like me. So there's plenty. It's fine mostly, but I've tried. It's like when I was doing your session, sort of like swinging my arm. I'm like, okay, I'll just put my arms over my head.
Oh,
I can't like reach fully out, and it's just that feeling of expansiveness is not quite there, really.
Yeah, and that's so interesting because I do those sessions downstairs in the lounge. I basically tell everybody to bugger off, and I'm like, because I've tried doing them in the loft, and you're right, it's just not enough space, and because of the type of the session, it demands it. It's essential to the you still get something out of it, obviously, but it's
completely
that feeling of allowing yourself to expand, which because we don't as standard, we just kind of think, I'll just take up this little bubble here, that's fine.
So I often I've got skylights, so I open the windows. I can stretch my arms out of the windows.
Cool. That's cool.
I don't give a damn what the neighbours think anymore. So
Oh God, yeah. I started
having out of the window.
So we live in an old Victorian terrace, and there's about, does it go up? What's it? Maybe 25 houses it goes up to. We're number 17, and it faces south. So I quite often sit in our front doorway and just read or drink my coffee or whatever. But I've started having conversations with like friends and the other like peers and stuff, just really openly sitting in our doorway, like everybody can hear me. But like yesterday I was talking about all of the events of last week, all of the kind of the assault stuff, the women's stuff, all of that, and I was just openly talking about it. But I've got to that point where I don't care anymore. Really, they're going to think what they think anyway. So
well, absolutely, and I think actually at the moment it feels much more open, and for all that we're like really closed into our houses.
Yeah,
society feels a bit more open, and we're talking about everything. We're talking about all of the issues because they're there right in front of us, and that's all we have to deal with every day. So I actually feel like society and community is kind of going, so what's life like for you, and what's life like for you, and it just feels a bit more like we're all just putting up with whatever we have to put up with this year and last year.
But we're being much more open about it because I guess there's nowhere else. There's so. I think there's several things. I think we were just less willing to put up with all of the kind of pretending everything is normal because it's really not.
Really not. No.
And with that comes, much more of a willingness to talk about everything because otherwise, like, where's all that going to go? You're just going to keep pushing it back down, and I
think also there's an element of society that has always lived, particularly kind of what we'd often refer to as like the rat race kind of lifestyle. That a lot of people fall into that lifestyle just because that's normal and it's expected and it's what you do, and we all fall into that kind of lifestyle. And it's through the experience of these past 12 months that people have gone, okay, so there's lots of different ways of being, actually.
Yes. Something that seemed utterly impossible and completely even off the planet implausible actually happened.
Yeah. And then people seem to be a bit more open to like, oh, okay, so there's other ways of being and other ways and we just find our own way through and start looking to other people to go, oh, so you do that way, right? That's interesting. Rather than just being dismissive because you're not the norm, Yeah.
Which brings me wonderfully to my first question, actually, which is, how would you describe yourself? Because, and I'm hoping that you'll come up, that you'll relate a little story that you put on your website to me because I just love it.
I'm trying to remember what that story. How would I describe myself? I would describe myself as a recently liberated artist who was blocked for very, very, very many years, far too many decades. And through the liberation that I've stepped into, that actually was probably always available to me, but it had to happen at the right time, I feel.
Yeah.
That I'm so grateful for it. I'm so full of joy with it that I want to help liberate other stuck creative people.
Yeah.
So that's part of who I am and part of what I do as an artist. Part of it is also this behind me, which is my self-portrait.
Fabulous.
And which is about finding it. It's actually combines a little bit of NLP stuff in a way. This is my visual anchor.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is what I call I don't really know quite what to call it really, because empowerment is a bit of an overused word.
It's hard, isn't it? A lot of those words just feel really overused. Yeah.
But I discovered last year, in April, so fairly early on in the weird days.
Yeah.
There was the 100 Days Challenge, 100 Days Project, which has come up year after year, and I keep looking at it and thinking, oh God, I can't commit.
I don't know that.
It's just a thing on Instagram. Well, no, Instagram and put on Facebook, and you basically pick your own project, and it's
okay.
generally aimed at creative, so it's a creative project, but it's pretty broad. So you can pick anything.
Okay.
And you commit to doing something on it every day for 100 days, and you post about it on Instagram, and there's a Facebook page for it.
Yeah.
And you know, you use tags and things. And I kept thinking about it in previous years and thought, God, I can't commit to 100 days. You know, you look in the calendar and actually 100 days is a really long time. And you know, it's like a nice round number, and then you go, wait, that goes from April to July. That's a really long time. And I thought, no, I can't commit. You know, I kept thinking, oh no, my life's really chaotic and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And as though I had some kind of issue with committing.
Yeah.
Because I think I had this old story, actually. Well, I know I had this old story of being a flake, of not being able to finish things. So with it being in the pandemic, I was like, well, if I can't do it now, when can I?
Yeah.
So I committed to that. So I did 100 days of life drawing.
Amazing.
Which, you know, I did life drawing 2 or 3 times a week anyway, which has been happening by Zoom recently. So then I just had to add in something for 4 other days in the week, really.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of drawing my left hand with my right hand, and a lot of drawing my own feet. You know, like sitting with my feet up and just drawing my feet. But I then, because I was drawing other people, and you know, a lot of my husband reading or looking at his phone, because I was drawing other people naked, I was like, I should be able to do that for myself.
Yeah.
I thought it would be horrific. And I was like, oh, because, you know, lockdown, I have eaten all of the ice cream.
Oh, yeah, we all did that.
All of the ice cream. Plus, somebody in the village started a pizza business during lockdown.
Oh, dear.
I know, it was just dreadful, which, you know, obviously you have to support a local business, don't you? Yeah. So, you know, all of those body consciousness issues come up, and I thought drawing myself naked would be awful, and I had to go at it, you know, hiding most of me behind a very big sketchbook, and finding that when I was done looking at, when I'm drawing, I'm just concentrating on each little millimeter of skin that I'm drawing. So I'm not judging, I'm just drawing.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, when I look at the drawing, I'm not looking and judging the lumps and bumps.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the drawing, I'm looking at an artwork. So I carried on doing that and then painted this as a result.
That's incredible.
And it's really changed my body positivity.
That is so affirming. I love that.
It's
absolutely
wonderful. And I've also found that, like, if I do it while I'm in a particular mood, because, like, that's something for me, is that the senses and the moods are changeable.
Yeah.
I can shift them, and that I can express that in my art.
Yes.
So if I get myself into a particular really positive, life affirmed mood, draw myself and paint myself from that place.
Yeah.
When I look at that, I'm reconnecting with that.
That is just awesome. I really
love that.
How freaking powerful is that, though?
It's incredible. It is incredible. I've done it for a
Wow.
few other people as well. So I've started offering that, as a commission thing. So I've done that for a couple of people, and it is just amazing because it's wonderful to work with other people through that process as well.
Yes.
But yeah, great.
I think every woman in particular needs to have that kind of relationship where she can step back and see herself as others honestly probably see her anyway.
Yeah.
We are the most critical people when it comes to ourselves.
Yeah.
And yes, we can project that out onto others.
Mm.
But honestly, I don't think that we would criticize others half as much as we criticize ourselves.
No, it's true.
And I just that's such a lovely, what I do in the sacred expression, that is really about, definitely there's a body love kind of element in there, in that you are allowing yourself to connect to all parts of you and to move all parts of you and to expand into all parts of you. And what you create, visually is obviously an extension of that, but it's abstract. And I think that, there's a different element with what you do, because there's a realism in it, and it's much more kind of, oh, that's me. But there's still kind of that element of, wow, that was in me and I've put it out there. So,
and it's being seen and heard as well, isn't it?
Because
this is probably the least abstract that I've done, and when I've done this work for other people, I've kept it. I've painted in a different style, actually, a lot more abstract, so you can tell it's a person, and she knows it's her. And she can connect with that, because she was involved through the personality. Connected through the process as well. But hung on a wall, other people looking at it would not necessarily go, "Oh my God, that's you." So she's got this beautiful artwork that she loves, that connects with her body, and other people. She's happy for other people to see it, because they're not going to necessarily know unless she chooses to tell them that that's her.
That's really beautiful.
That was a particular favourite piece of mine, really, that I just this particular band was wonderful. But actually, what you said about movement as well, that's a really key thing. I think. Because I can't keep still. When I'm drawing, I do. Sometimes I turn up at life drawing sessions and I'm feeling tired. So I'll sit in front of my easel and draw. But I always have music on. A lot of the life drawing sessions I do with a particular model friend, he creates a soundtrack for his sessions, and he also uses spoken word as well. So it's really, we're on the same plane. It's really emotive, and so there's always this glorious music, and I just have to stand and move and dance while I'm drawing, and it transforms the art into something completely different.
That is your energy. And this is why I physically don't think I could sit down and just draw with a sketchbook anymore. Maybe I could, but I'd find it really hard, because I need to move my whole body when I'm creating something. I just need to. It doesn't feel right otherwise.
I do still do that for the purposes of noodling around an idea and looking at patterns and designs. But again, I often do it. I think, oh, this really. If I'm struggling with something, I'm sitting down working at a book and struggling with it, I'll stand up. And even just standing up, moving around, looking out the window, come back and not sit down, but draw standing up. Like lift up to me and move around with it. So if it's not a giant sketchbook, I can do that quite easily. And that always shifts things. And it's really interesting how we're often conditioned to sit and draw carefully, sit and draw nicely.
Yeah, yeah.
It feels like we must have been told in childhood, sit down and draw nicely.
Oh God, yeah. I know. Well, actually, so it's really interesting for me because, you know, my kids are 10 and 11 now, and I see them kind of creating stuff. And bless my daughter said to me the other week, she said, "Mummy, I want to do a life-size painting before the end of term."
Oh, wow. That's brilliant.
But when I was their age, I was very analytical. So I would sit for hours and like draw something in detail. And it would be very realistic. You know, I would get all of the details in, all of the kind of shading or whatever it is, but it was very analytical. And, you know, likewise, I had some gouache paints my parents bought me, and I would sit and do like little kind of really intricate art deco designs.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And I think of that now, and you know, it's incredible in its own right, but I couldn't do that now.
No.
I just
I think this is good skill to have, because
definitely.
I think it's like when you're learning any skill, it's good to have the basic techniques in before you can really let loose and play. Freely and mildly. But yeah, for me it has to be. I'm an emotional, expressive person.
Yeah.
So it will be weird for my art to not be like that.
Yeah.
And some people aren't like that and create completely different art, and like, thank goodness for that, really.
Yeah.
Because we've all got to create something different, not but yeah, I think for me it was the whole. It all stems really from sort of not feeling seen or heard, and I think wanting to. I mean, I always knew I was an artist.
Yeah.
Like from being a small child. I think I've referred to it as like, you know, if you cut me in half like a piece of rock. Even though I wouldn't have been able to express that as a child, it was just something that was part of my identity.
Yeah.
And when I wasn't allowed to do that by overbearing father, then it felt like I was being dismissed as a person.
Yes.
It was such a strong part of my identity that not being allowed, and also when it was at that point, you know, when you're 14 and you've got to make these decisions on different GCSEs now, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But being slightly older, it was O levels at the time, and there was a clash between art and his subject, which was chemistry.
Oh my God. Do you know, I remember the trauma of trying to figure out those timetables, and you couldn't take. I think I wanted to. I couldn't take music and art.
We see bonkers, isn't
but
it?
you were allowed to. So you were allowed to take 2 or 3 even science subjects, but you couldn't take two or more art subjects. It's like, okay then.
It just seems crackers, doesn't it? Really, to separate them out like that as well. It just seemed really weird. So I had this choice, and there was a lot of arguing.
Oh.
Because I was a horrible teenager, you know. 14's not a good age, is it, generally speaking? And it's where we're kind of like, you know, we're busy finding our adult boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was quite a horrible, rebellious teenager, and my dad was adamant that I should do anything as long as it was chemistry.
Oh.
And actually, that felt to me like the end of the world.
Yeah.
You know, at 14, that felt like the end of the world. If I couldn't do our O level, that was it. I was never going to be able to do this. And although I did get to do my O level in a year, 1 year later, I went to a different school for sixth form and was able to do it as an extra. So I did get my A level, and a good one. I got an A. Nicely done. It was kind of like it was a token,
right?
And I think I've just absorbed that idea that I was not allowed to be an artist.
Yes. Yeah.
I was told it was fine to do it as a hobby.
Yeah.
That just squashed it for so long.
Yeah.
And it took me till 50. Like, actually, I mean, I kept trying to find ways for it.
Yeah.
And always dabbled.
Same. And I, it came out for me in pieces of my work, but again, usually quite analytical. So for example, I did web design for a little while, and it was, creating not just websites but really beautiful websites.
Yeah.
And this was back also when you hand coded everything. So
oh, Lord,
I would take a design and then I would be like, okay, I'm gonna put that on the. But yeah,
wow.
Again, that I felt like, it has to be practical in some way. Yeah. It has to be useful.
Yeah. My mum was a textile artist, and she was also not allowed to do that she wasn't allowed to make money from it.
Yeah.
And so yes, it was what we used to call the trade cloth scenario of, you can do stitchery and embroidery as long as it's something useful. Like, can I play your tea tray? Or and there was that. So she was always fighting this kind of idea that embroidery was purely domestic.
Wow, that's so sad.
She was always fighting this. So she did. I'm like, I have a friend who has a very similar mother, and I said, oh my goodness, that's amazing hearing her story about her mother. I was like, we both have slash and burn mothers, and she knew exactly what I meant, because her mother and my mother would take fabric, smash it to pieces, use soldering irons, just do really, really weird random stuff.
Yeah.
And created art from it.
Yeah.
In a way that we would do the same thing with paints and pastels and so it's interesting actually that being brought up with that there's always been some kind of battle around making art and artists understood. And I'm just really keen. I would say desperate. I'm not desperate. I'm really adamant that we can change the whole complete myth.
Yeah.
That the myth around the struggling artist.
Yes.
The myth around not being able to make a livelihood from it.
Yes.
So yeah, finding that once I found my art, once I found my thing, which all revolves around the human body. Once I'd found that, I was like, right, okay. Now I'm really going for it. Now I'm not getting back in the box.
So what did you do before then?
In terms of art, or as a business?
For money, what did you do for money?
Well, I started off with a very sensible job, father-approved job at the British Library.
Okay.
Which was not the one in London, but the one in Yorkshire, which had lots of different jobs within that. So I worked in the training department and the marketing department and the education department, all these kind of things. So I wasn't like a librarian as such. And then and my husband worked there as well. And so we left at the same time. We both handed in our notice and left.
Aww.
And we started our own business, which was called Aromatics, which was making handmade natural soaps and skincare.
Okay.
So we did that for 13, 14 years, and then sold that a couple of years ago. Yeah, so it was difficult because it was something that we created. I'd found it quite difficult to let go of.
Yeah.
He'd let go of it a year before me because he wanted to train as a massage therapist. Clearly, my life is hell being married to a massage therapist.
All that practice.
Do you know what? It was great while he was training because he needed practice.
Yes.
But now that it's his full-time job, I don't like to ask.
Yeah.
So now I have to go.
Aww.
No, so now I have to go. Any chance of massage before you go back to work? Because obviously you can't work at the moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I went by the title of soap maker for many years.
I mean, that's creative in itself, though. It's it's practical again.
Yeah, it was, and actually, I did use my artwork in the packaging.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I created some nice colours, linking the scents and colours together.
Yeah.
And creating packaging with my artwork in, which was very satisfying. That was really nice.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, it was kind of baby steps. But it did take me to find life drawing and figurative art before I could let go of the soap business.
And why do you think the life drawing really spoke to you? I mean, is there something that kind of, even relating back to like your mini me, your childhood, or your just the core part of you?
Yeah, there's something. I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because it is almost. I think often art says the things that you can't say with words.
Yes.
But somehow it just kind of all really linked together with how I feel in my own body. Because somehow it's kind of it. I would say it's sensuality because it's all of the senses.
Yeah.
And I think there's a degree of synesthesia going on as well.
Yeah.
But there's something about, because I do love the human body. I think the human body is extraordinary.
It really is.
And I can see beauty in every single body that I look at.
Oh.
I genuinely do. Yeah. Because I just find that they're extraordinary, and it gets me excited. It gets all my senses excited. And yeah, there's something about me being seen and heard when I felt like I wasn't as a child.
Yeah.
Because I did get a lot of that, like, go to your room, don't be seen or heard kind of thing.
Yeah.
From one parent. And I don't know. I think I lived in my head a lot as a child.
Yeah.
But I was always also kind of always outdoors and up trees, and in dens and all of that. So I don't. It's very difficult to express somehow. But there is something that I like to explore when I'm working is having the sense, taste, sounds of music, and obviously there's the visual, and there's also the textural as well, which I think is why I love drawing with charcoal.
Yeah.
And soft pastels.
Yeah.
There's lovely buttery soft pastels.
Oh yeah, and you get them all over you, and it's so vibrant, and
I think it's like there's like an electricity there, and I think that experience of doing embodied drawing, as we both do, on a giant piece of paper, on the floor, and crawling around on it and dancing on it, and just getting completely filthy, using my nose and my hair and my fingers and my toes and just all of me.
Yeah.
In the charcoal, in the pastel, all over the paper. is a really visceral experience.
Yes. Yeah.
And I've started, and like I love that experience just as it is. But because I also love drawing other human bodies, if I then use that paper and draw over those, over that embodied charcoal, that's what I've been doing recently, and that's where like the best work. It's been a real shift in my work.
There's so much energy in those pieces that you've created, and because, like you say, you can't fail to put that energy into it when it's something you've been rolling around in, literally.
yeah, completely.
And I just wanted to say as well what you were kind of, so for me, that fully embodied drawing, or whatever it is, exploration, for me it is so healing, because, well, lots of different reasons, but for a start, you're using both sides of your body and both sides of your brain as a result, and it's not, so you're not tapped completely into that kind of more analytical, logical side. In fact, that side is vastly quietened, because you're so in the zone of what you're moving and creating, and but it's also like you say, it's a very visceral and holistic self-acknowledgement practice.
Oh gosh, yes, that's a beautiful way to see it. Yeah, it really is, and I feel that if I can express me in that, and then express what I see in someone else, that energy can't fail but come through. And for some, but there's also something around expressing people who can't express themselves in art. Although actually, the life models are artists in their own right. Because that's definitely an art form when you see a top life model. It's definitely an art form. But expressing people through art, I think it helps them see something different in themselves, something new in themselves, or actually recognise something that's always been there in themselves, but they've not actually been able to visualise. Just being expressed.
And like you say as well, having that different relationship with it, because it's not just kind of you looking down at yourself and going, ugh.
Exactly.
Some bits, like an objective observer has lovingly kind of, it is a kind of transmutation, really, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And it always amazes me when you talk to life models about how it feels to be drawn. And they find it so emotional, so life affirming.
Wow.
Every single artist in the physical room, when we can do it in a physical room, but in the Zoom scenario, where sometimes we might be a really small group of 5 or 6, or sometimes we're 60. Each single person is finding beauty in you, and each single person is expressing that in their own way. And there's something really ancient and primal about seeing it on in material. It's almost like, I think that's why I like charcoal. It's like it's a burnt stick on the cave wall. And it's seeing those marks put down, like some old language in mark making or something. It's very difficult to describe it. It's just like some kind of,
and
using the word primal, but that kind of expression.
So that kind of brings me to, I'm not quite sure how to express this, but how do you feel about kind of allowing yourself to use that language now versus not having been allowed to use that language? And also its kind of juxtaposition with, you know, the everyday language that we are allowed to use.
Yeah. It's interesting because there is still a battle in that. For me, as an artist, I often refer to myself as a liberated artist because I do feel fantastic.
Yeah.
Freedom and liberation and total joy from being able to do what I found really works for me for expressing myself and expressing the people in front of me.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting when you take that work out into the broader world, which obviously I'm not able to do for me, but only really through social media. But last time I did an art show, an art event, I was really tempted to rename my business. What was it? Naked Nudes.
Naked Nudes.
Somebody went past and went, oh, there's so many naked nudes. It's hilarious. And like, you know, there's a lot of the world is kind of prudish.
Yeah.
And then also a lot of the world, we're also kind of quite rightly protective of ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, so there's this battle between safety and personal safety, and being expressive. But yeah, it's and then some people's judgment that, you know, somebody stood in my area looking at all my work and went, "Gosh, there's so many nipples." Which I was like, yeah. And that was, which was quite interesting. That also because I draw all of the sexes, so there wasn't just nipples. But it's interesting that it's the nipples that people can count.
Well, as well, so I was going to say that, you know, maybe if we all went around naked like much more regularly, assuming that we're not going to be cold, obviously, then you know, we just get rid of so much of this nonsense. And the idea that women's nipples can't be shown on social media, but men's nipples can, for example. I mean, what the heck is that about?
No. I know, it's completely crackers.
And
sorry, go on.
I just really hope that in the next, I don't know, 50 years, maybe, let's be a little bit realistic, maybe all of that is just going to turn around, because and being seen as for how ridiculous and misogynistic it really is.
Yeah, completely. And it's also interesting from the guy's point of view as well, because so much of life drawing and, you know, the nude in art, you've got a few good male examples, you know, particularly in sculpture, but it's predominantly the female form, predominantly from the male gaze. And it is really interesting that when I come across some people's reactions, and some people have said to me, other artists have said to me, "God, you're really brave doing figurative art because it doesn't sound like."
Wow.
Interesting. I am selling art, so it does sound. But there's that kind of, you know, because I'm like, well, why wouldn't it? And I'm like, well, because people are prudish. They don't have.
Not everybody is.
No, not everybody is. Exactly. And actually, I think it's for want of a better word, it's something to do with exposure. But yeah, because we don't walk around naked very much.
I believe it's about a really fundamental block around our own sexuality and our own bodies, and instilled from childhood through various means, but also just continuously ingrained in us every day through things like, oh my god, you can't show a nipple on social media, or oh, that reporter is showing too much cleavage, because it's always a woman, isn't it?
Yeah.
And or there's so many examples. One that came up to me, I don't know why I was lying awake this morning, but I was thinking about leg hair.
Oh yeah, female body hair.
Oh, female body hair, and I was getting quite irate just lying in bed thinking about the fact that if a woman chooses whether to shave her legs or her head, has nothing to do with anybody else, and there is no norm.
No,
there should be. I genuinely used to feel, and actually, if I'm being totally honest, I still feel a little bit weird about going out in public with hairy legs on show.
Yeah.
It feels a bit like, am I allowed to do this? And that just enrages me.
Have you tried? This is a good one. Have you tried going out in public without a bra?
I have, actually. Yes.
It's weird and tricky.
It is weird. And yeah. So for a long time, when I was going through topical steroid withdrawal, my skin was just so uncomfortable all the time. I couldn't wear a bra or a crop top or anything remotely close to my skin, and so I had to just go braless. And I was saying to somebody the other day, I was, even when I went back to teaching yoga, I still couldn't wear anything. So actually, my breast tissue learned to hold itself up.
Yeah.
But yes, it did feel, and especially when I was teaching as well, that felt quite vulnerable.
Yeah.
Which again is just, it's so sad.
It is, because I tried it. I've tried it, and I go for a soft thing these days.
Yes.
I don't like a bra.
Same, yeah.
And so there are times when nipples are visible, and I feel like and it's very bizarre how I'm still really conscious when I'm out in public of other people not actually seeing my nipples, just seeing a raised part in my top where my nipples are.
Yeah.
And it's extraordinary. And actually, there is a thing also, with social media, and the whole world of Facebook ads and all of that bizarre stuff, because you also can't show a shoulder because the bot thinks a naked shoulder means that you're naked. Which also means you can't wear like a strappy top, because it'll miss out the strap and just see shoulder and think, oh, you're naked, so not say that. But selling figurative art that has things that represent, bits of charcoal and pastel on paper that represent body parts of all of the sexes.
Yeah.
So many of those things get flagged up as not sticking to Facebook rules. And it's always a bot, so you have to kind of just put it for review and put an explanation in saying this is not in any way crude, this is, it's not a photograph, and all of that kind of stuff. And generally speaking, the reviews work out okay, but there's still often things that have been looked at by a human being that have gone, no, I still think that's a bit rude.
Yeah. By a man, most likely. Anyway, yeah. No, I kind of, I feel that's what it comes down to, is that, that feeling that of kind of coming back to what you're saying about not being able to sell naked nudes. And it really does come back to that idea that we're, especially as being British, I'm not sure the French would have the same problem.
No, probably not.
But yeah, that very Victorian attitude that we have about our own bodies, about other people's bodies, about representations of bodies, and it's just kind of, it's 2021. Come on.
It is. It's bonkers. So yeah, part of what I want to do is, because this does just set my soul on fire.
Yeah.
Because the human body is extraordinary. People are.
It is.
And maybe if I made pretty pictures of flowers or landscapes or something, maybe I'd make more money. But how sad is that? That was just my soul. And like, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong in.
No, but it's about you.
Stuff, but it's about me and what I want to express. And I've tried drawing all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And they're good exercises in drawing, but nothing has just switched all of me on. I was going to say switch my brain on, but actually it's all of me.
Yeah.
Quite like drawing the human body. And it's drawing the human body naked. There's a very different thing from drawing the human body clothed as well.
Yeah.
And not in a sexual way. I'm not going to say not in a sexual way, because
But again, that's it's acknowledging all parts of us, all layers of us. All we are whole beings, and I think we like to kind of disinfect parts of ourselves and pretend that that's it's naughty or bad I mean, obviously that's a whole other conversation.
But there's a whole, thinking in terms of expression and expressing who that person is. You're seeing a person in their most vulnerable state.
Yeah.
When they're naked. And a lot of the people that I draw are very expressive with their bodies.
Yeah.
And you can see their emotions in them, not just from their eyes and not just from their face, but with all of them.
Yeah.
And I don't know if putting my art out there will help change those reactions to people seeing the naked body. I don't know. You can only hope that it does.
But that is part of the role of art, isn't it? Is to help us as humanity, as a society, whatever, to see things and experience things in different ways that we wouldn't necessarily be allowed to in our regular society, because there is a mainstream way of looking at and seeing things and doing things. And certainly for me, I feel like the role of art is to explode all of that.
Yeah. Because also it's like the mainstream way of things is like, it's like the average, isn't it?
Yeah.
To get an average, you have to have things either side of it.
Yeah.
And there's something in that, and also it, for me, also art is something about making sense of the world as well.
Yes.
Understanding our place in it, and so much to explore, really.
So I get a really good set, and I feel so connected to you as well, because I think our stories are really similar, actually.
Oh gosh, I probably didn't tell you the story from the website that you were.
No, it was about you being a piece of rock.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
I just love that analogy. It's fantastic. But so I feel like you I probably know the answer to this already, but I'd love to know what, especially right now when things are so kind of charged and challenging and polarizing and all of the rest of it, what motivates you each day to kind of to get up and to do this and to to keep going?
That's a really good question. I think, and I've just looked at, and I have stuff written on because this is my studio and it's mine, and it's in the loft. I write on the walls. No, right, wall/ceiling, because it's a loft. And it says up here, I have nothing to lose.
Oh.
And that's partly it, because I've come from feeling so stuck, trapped.
Yeah.
To finding having my kind of epiphany moment and finding my way out to freedom.
Yeah.
So I'm like, now I'm out. There is no way anyone is putting me back in the box. And a very strong sense of no one is the boss of me.
Yeah.
And I also know that I'm not doing other people harm.
Yes.
So I just feel that if it's a bit like the reason that I vote every time I can vote, because even though my voice is one tiny little voice in the sea of everybody else, it's still important to add my voice to that.
Yeah.
And I think that I've got stuff to express, which sounds a bit, I don't know, it sounds quite kind of like, I will be heard, but it's not that my opinion is any more important than anybody else's opinion. I just feel that it's important that we all express our opinion.
Yeah. I don't believe that's an egoic thing, and we frequently judge it as being such. I really believe that's our sole, our sole purpose, not SOLE, but SOUL.
Yeah.
Our sole purpose is to leave an energetic imprint on this planet and on humanity. And if we prevent ourselves from doing that, then what is the point of us being here?
Exactly. Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like we're all, each and every single one of us is here for a purpose. And I think if we don't listen to that purpose and we don't respect that purpose, we then just live a very like John Smith, sorry to John Smith as well, very John Smith way of life.
Yeah.
That we then just become soulless boxes.
Yeah.
Like, who wants to be a soulless box?
If there's one thing that you wish everybody knew in their deepest part of themselves, in their core, what would it be?
That's a fantastic question. And I think right now, because probably if you ask me on a different day, it would be something different. It's something that's come up for me recently that I didn't hear when I was a child.
Yeah.
Which was, you can do anything you want. You can do anything.
Yeah.
That life is limitless.
Yeah.
And well, if you don't believe that life is limitless, it just crushes the soul, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think probably because I came from being a bit crushed into a little box that wasn't much. That's
oh, that is such a beautiful way to end this. I could keep talking to you for hours.
I know, I love it.
I think we now have to do a second installment, honestly. But yeah, I really love this, and I want to thank you for your time and just everything. I feel really kind of feel like our journeys are intertwined somehow.
Yeah, me too, very much so, very much so. I actually really wish we lived closer.
Where are you? You're in York?
North Yorkshire.
North Yorkshire, okay, yeah. Oh, well, I'm originally from Edinburgh, but that doesn't help right now.
Love it.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you. Oh, where can we find you? Where can we find you?
My website is very simple. It's katemooresartist.com, all one word. I'm also Kate Moores Artist on Facebook and on Instagram. So there's no hyphens or underlines in any of that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been fabulous. Thank you so much.